Welcome back to Black Powder Therapy. So what we're going to talk about today is safety. Whether it's range safety, around the house, out in your car, no matter where you're shooting, it's the same basic fundamentals. I had the great opportunity to learn how the NRA does things. I had to take classes with the University of Wisconsin Extension to teach 4-H. I had to learn the hunter safety methods of Wisconsin because I spent a lot of time living in Wisconsin. So a lot of my background from the educational perspective comes from there. And while I don't necessarily agree with everything 100% on how they operate, we are going to go over it because the fundamentals are just that, the absolute basics. Now the NRA uses the word always because there's never a time that they don't believe that the rules apply. Always. Always point your firearm in the safe direction. Always. It's not a toy. It's not to be messed with at the dinner table. You don't mess with it at the bar when you're drinking. It's a firearm. You always keep it unloaded until you're ready to use it. That's one that a lot of people have issues with. But if it's not loaded, it can't hurt anymore. You always keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to use it. We just had a big thing in Wisconsin about that, where a prosecutor is walking around inside the courtroom with his finger on the stupid trigger. Fundamentals of firearms. Keep your finger off the trigger. Now, when we're teaching youth, the Boy Scouts of America use the NRA. They have a relationship with them. The NRA runs most ranges at the high adventure areas, and most of the RSOs within the organization, and quite frankly, most of the merit badge counselors are NRA trained personnel. Hence one of the reasons I went through NRA training, because I was a merit badge counselor for a long time. Technically I still am, but I'm not as involved anymore. Now, outside of that program, the FFA and the 4-H programs use the state level. So I was state certified through the 4-H program through the University of Wisconsin Extension out of Madison, Wisconsin. You can imagine their perspective on things. The university runs things, the university's perspective is part of it, but the state DNR controls the fundamentals class known as hunter safety. And in there, they talk about a program called TabK. It's a simple little acronym, doesn't sound like one, but it gets the kids repeating the same words over and over. Treat every firearm as if it's loaded. A little different there. You treat it like it's loaded at all times. You don't mess with it. You don't grab it, the magazine. You don't yank on the trigger because you think it's funny. You talk about red means dead with a safety. Well, in this case, if you act like it's loaded all the time, you're never going to make that mistake. You always point the muzzle in a safe direction. That's not complicated, people. Safe direction. That means not at your friends, not at the car, not across the street. Typically at a range we say pointed down range. But that doesn't always apply in a public setting. So if you're going to be carrying it, you got to carry it pointed in a safe direction. Typically muzzle up or muzzle down. That's all a matter of personal preference and how you were raised. Not everyone believes that. That's how I was taught. That's what I believe. So that's how I teach it. That's how I'm communicating it. Always in a safe direction. Then there's the follow-on to that one. Be certain of your target and what it's beyond. It doesn't stop at their target. Just because you have paper targets on the wall doesn't mean that your round isn't strong enough to go through the concrete and into something else. Think of all the people you complained about when they're rattling them off, driving down the road, and someone innocent got hurt. It happens. It happens a lot in the cities, but it does happen in country too. There's been stories in Wisconsin about people at the range aiming their firearm at an arc that was impractical and ended up hitting someone on a property somewhere else. It's because they weren't certain of what was beyond the target. The beyond part matters. And then there's the final one. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to use it. Funny one I used to always laugh with the kids when we teach fundamentals is Keep your booger hook off the bang bang button. It's real simple. Every kid likes to point their finger and act like it's popping a cap. That comes from the days when we actually used to have cap guns. You pull the trigger and pow, hit the paper and set off a little spark. It would pop a cap. But in this case, that bang bang button is your only real safety. Not all firearms have a functional safety, a mechanical safety, but everybody has a safety. It's your finger. Proper range safety, proper everyday safety is if you have your firearm in your hand. I don't care if it's a pistol or a rifle or a shotgun. Keep your finger out of the trigger well. Keep it off the trigger unless you're ready to use it and intent on using it. I'll add another one there that I don't normally hear taught anywhere, but I believe in it wholeheartedly. I heard it used several times in the service and amongst foreign nationals. If you're going to aim your firearm, you better be ready to use it. So for those of you who are thinking safety and self-defense, keep that in mind. Don't pull it unless you're ready, because I guarantee you the guy on the other side probably is ready. So let's go over that again. Treat every firearm as if it's loaded. Always point your firearm in a safe direction. Be certain of your target and what is beyond, and keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot it. That's TabK. It's Wisconsin 4-H. If we can get little kids to grasp it and enjoy firearms because they get the fundamentals, the absolute basics, you adults can enjoy it too. So, enjoy some black powder therapy. Just keep to the fundamentals. Maintain a safe environment.